Have you ever wondered why the most powerful men, the most self-assured, calculating, and disciplined men suddenly fall to pieces in the presence of certain women? Why empires built on logic, legacy, and law tremble beneath the weightless step of a woman who carries something no one can name? It is not beauty. It is not wit. It is not even charm. It is mystery, and not the performance of mystery, but the real thing, the ancient feminine enigma that no man can decode, because it was never meant to be solved. In her presence, something unravels, not because she tries. In fact, it is because she does not try. Her being is a mirror, and in that mirror he does not see her. He sees himself, magnified and raw. The man who thought he knew what he wanted finds himself undone, not by seduction, but by the haunting presence of a woman who knows she doesn't need to be desired in order to be real. And what is this mystery she carries? It is not an act, a tactic, or a tool. It is the result of deep psychological excavation. A woman who has touched her own shadow, kissed it, made peace with the parts of herself most others bury. She does not live to be seen. She lives because she is. She does not grip, she allows. She does not chase, she chooses. And in doing so, she becomes the storm in which the masculine ego drowns. Men who conquer kingdoms still kneel in confusion before her silence, not because she withholds, but because she reveals only what is sacred. There is a chasm in her gaze where illusions go to die. The man who stands before her is not confronted by her, but by his own projections, the aching echoes of the mother he idealized, the lover he failed, the emptiness he never named. You, woman, have been taught to fill space, to please, to perform, to make yourself digestible. But power does not beg. Mystery does not ask permission. The feminine force that breaks men down is not cruel. It is simply whole. And wholeness in a world addicted to hunger will always look like rebellion. He walks into her orbit, thinking he is the sun. But she is the galaxy, vast, untouchable, ancient. She does not need to revolve around his warmth, because she generates her own. He expects her to flinch under his gaze, but she meets it with an unflinching calm, as if she has seen this before, the performance of masculine power, and knows exactly how it ends. There is no script she follows. No formula in her body language, no predictable rhythm to her soul. And this rattles him. For the masculine psyche, so often conditioned by conquest, logic, and the achievement of goals, cannot calibrate to what it cannot control. He is wired to pursue, to conquer, to define. But how do you conquer what cannot be caught? How do you define a woman who has made peace with being indefinable? Her mystery is not elusive for the sake of allure. It is the consequence of depth. She is not pretending to be unavailable. She is simply uninterested in being consumed. She knows the difference between attention and devotion, between desire and presence, between hunger and reverence. And so when he reaches for her, not as a man who sees, but as a boy who grasps, his desire collapses. Not because she denies him, but because he realizes too late that what he is seeking cannot be found in her, but must be found within himself. James wrote of the anima, the feminine image that lives inside every man's unconscious. She is the muse, the longing, the ache. But she is also the mirror. And when a man has not made contact with his own inner feminine, he seeks her outside, in women he cannot hold, in fantasies he cannot keep. But the mystery woman is not here to heal his mother wound. She is not here to soothe the child in his chest. She is here to be, and being, raw, full, unapologetic being, is more confronting than any rejection. And you, if you are listening, must ask, do you diminish your essence to be digestible? Do you shrink your mystery to be chosen? Or have you touched the sacred wild within, the one that does not flinch under scrutiny, the one that lets men fall apart, not out of cruelty, but because they finally see their own illusion burning? He cannot follow where she has gone, not because she has hidden herself, but because he has yet to descend into his own depths. The surface-level man, the one who is led by image, status, appetite, cannot yet hold the weight of a woman who has walked through her own fire. He wants her, but he does not understand why. He desires her, but cannot name what within her stirs him so violently. It is not her body, though it may start there. It is not her voice, though it may echo through his bones. It is her presence, that still, immovable truth in her posture, the sovereign gravity in her eyes. This is the woman who has transmuted pain into power. The one who no longer performs her femininity to earn a place in someone else's story. She is not angry. She is awake. And her awakening demands awakening in those who draw near. But not all are ready. Many come to sip her mystery and choke on its intensity. They call her too much, not realizing she is simply full of everything they've spent their lives avoiding. Grief, truth, silence, intuition, boundaries. There is something almost mythic about her, not in a fairy tale sense, but in the archetypal structure of the feminine mystique. Is the high priestess, cloaked in stillness, the queen who does not chase courtship, the wild wolf who does not bark for attention. She carries herself as though her time is sacred, her energy a temple. And so when a man approaches with haste, bravado, or flattery, he is met not with scorn, but with nothing. No reaction, no dance, no apology, just the mirror of his own emptiness reflected back at him. The uninitiated man mistakes this silence for rejection, but the truth is more cutting. He has not yet earned the right to witness her depths, not through effort, but through presence, not through performance, but through awareness. And you, if you find yourself drawn to this kind of power, must ask, are you willing to sit in silence long enough to hear your own voice echo back? Are you brave enough to stop performing long enough to feel who you truly are beneath the roles? The feminine mystery breaks down the masculine ego not to destroy it, but to cleanse it, to dissolve the illusion, and invite the real man forward. He has been told his entire life that strength means control over himself, over outcomes, over others. But in her presence, that scaffolding collapses. Not because she takes his power, but because she doesn't feed it. She does not submit to his image of strength, and so he is left to reckon with the truth. His power was never rooted in being, only in performance. She is the initiation he didn't know he was asking for. The feminine mystery does not conform to timelines, rules, or reward systems. She is lunar, cyclical, governed by forces ancient and unseen. She does not rush to fill silences or explain her essence, because she knows that presence is enough. She knows that the deepest waters are still, and that stillness often feels like threat to the man who has only ever felt safe in motion. And so, in stillness, she waits, not passively, but potently, not as a woman hoping to be chosen, but as a force waiting to be met. He comes with his questions, his cleverness, his strategies, and she sees through them all, not with contempt, but with the piercing grace of someone who has dismantled her own masks and now recognizes the stench of self-deception instantly. This is the feminine who has integrated her darkness, who has walked through betrayal, abandonment, objectification, and emerged not bitter but sovereign, not guarded but discerning. To be in her presence is to feel both awe and discomfort. Awe, because she radiates something that cannot be manufactured. Discomfort, because she exposes everything artificial in return. You cannot hide in her gaze. You cannot shrink in her silence. And the man who has not yet met himself will tremble, not because she is too much, but because he is not yet enough for himself. And you, woman, you who have felt the urge to make yourself smaller, more likable, more pleasing just to keep someone's gaze, must ask, what part of you are you betraying in the name of being wanted? What truth are you silencing to keep the performance alive? The real mystery is not in what you hide. It is in what you own. The unshakable power of owning all of yourself, especially the parts deemed too much. For that is what collapses masculine desire built on illusion. Not seduction, but sovereignty. The uninitiated man will call her cold, detached, difficult. He will speak of her with a bitterness that disguises reverence, because to name his awe would be to confront his own inadequacy. And so he labels her with the language of the small-hearted, not realizing that the feminine mystery cannot be reduced to comprehension, only felt in the bones, known in the soul, feared in the ego. But there are some, few but some, who do not retreat. Men who have tasted enough of the world's empty victories to know that true fulfillment will not come through conquest, but through capacity. Capacity to feel, to hold, to witness. These are the men who do not seek to possess the mystery, but to stand reverently in its presence. Not to own it, but to meet it. And in doing so, they are undone, but also reborn. She does not require his collapse, only his honesty. Not bravado, not dominance, not the counterfeit strength he's been taught to weaponize. She asks only for the real, for him to lay down the armor, not because she needs it, but because he no longer does. And this is terrifying. For the boy in him still believes he must perform to be loved. That to be soft is to be exposed. That to be vulnerable is to be powerless. But she, in her wholeness, teaches the opposite. That power is not in the mask, but in the face beneath it. You see, the true feminine is not soft in the way the world defines softness. She is the softness of a tidal wave, the tenderness of a storm. Not meek, merciful. Not weak, wise. And when she opens, it is not as a reward, it is as a revelation. Not for the man who flatters her shell, but for the one who has kissed his own depths and returned with eyes unafraid of hers. And you, woman who is listening, woman who is remembering, have within you this same storm, this same silence, this same electric ache of being whole. You were never meant to twist yourself into someone's fantasy. You were meant to burn through illusion, to shatter the projections, and to stand, not as a version, but as a force. The man who cannot stand in the face of your truth was never meant to hold it. She does not entertain performance, not because she is cruel, but because she has outgrown pretense, both in herself and in others. Her time is a sacred resource, her attention a gift only given to those who approach with intention, not appetite. She has loved before, foolishly, wildly, deeply, and in that love she has been broken. But the breaking did not destroy her. It refined her. The woman who once begged to be seen now sees herself. And there is nothing more dangerous to illusion than a woman who no longer needs to be validated. The masculine desire, built on dominance, control, and fantasy, cannot survive this. It gasps in the presence of her silence, thrashes in the gravity of her boundaries. Because she does not seduce, she invites, and only the one who has emptied himself of entitlement will recognize the door when it opens. Only the one who has died to his ego will feel her invitation as sacred, not transactional. She is not waiting to be chosen. She has already chosen herself. That is her mystery. It is not in what she withholds, but in what she contains. She contains the child she once was, the women she has been, the ancestors who walk with her, the future self she is becoming. All of it lives in her. All of it moves through her. And when she enters a room, you feel it, even if you do not understand it. For the wounded man, this presence is too much. He will try to reduce her. He will ask her to explain herself, to soften her gaze, to laugh a little more, to speak a little less. And if she complies, he will love her, but only the version of her that no longer exists. Because the moment she dismembers herself to be digestible, she is no longer the mystery. She is a memory of a mystery, a ghost of her own power. But she has died that death before. She has shrunk. She has silenced. She has played the good girl, and it left her empty. So now she returns to her wholeness like a lioness returns to the wild, hungry, sovereign, and unafraid. And you, woman, who hears this, let this be your return, not to who you were taught to be, but to who you are beneath the mask. He may try to possess her still, not with ropes, but with praise, not with chains, but with promises. He will say all the right words, words he thinks she longs to hear. But she listens not with her ears, she listens with her body, her breath, her instinct. And instinct has no tolerance for performance. It reads the frequency beneath the voice. It senses the fear behind the flattery, the hunger behind the compliments, the need masked as love. You cannot deceive a woman who has sat with her own darkness. She recognizes the scent of self-abandonment, even when it wears designer suits and speaks of forever. She does not shame it, but she does not invite it in, because she no longer offers sanctuary to those who refuse to enter their own soul. The man who cannot meet her at depth will call her closed off. But she is not closed. She is guarded by fire. She has had to earn her peace, and peace once earned is not surrendered for comfort. Her softness is not available to just anyone. It is rare, not because she plays games, but because she honors its value. She knows that true softness, the kind that heals, must be protected, not performed. And yet, there is a man who can meet her. Not the idealized savior, not the mythologized twin flame, but the man who has died to himself. The man who no longer needs her to complete him, because he is already whole. The one who does not flinch when she rises, and does not shrink when she weeps. He does not chase the mystery to conquer it, but to witness it, to honor the chaos and clarity, the rage and reverence, the storm and stillness within her. And to you, woman, remember this: when you stand in your truth, you will be too much for those who still live in their masks. Let them go. Let the collapse of their desire be the purification of your space. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be felt. And only those who have met their own soul will feel you as you are. You owe no one your smallness. You owe everyone your truth. There is a sacred violence in her clarity, not because it wounds, but because it cuts through illusion like a blade of light. To the man built on performance, her gaze is unbearable, not because it judges him, but because it sees him, not the version he's sculpted for the world, but the trembling child beneath it, the one who was never held, never heard, never allowed to break without being broken. And still, she offers no rescue. She is not here to mother him. She is not here to repair what another woman left fractured. Her mystery is not a medicine for men who refuse to bleed. She knows that true union does not happen in fantasy. It happens in the raw, excruciating nakedness of mutual awareness. She will not carry him across the threshold. But if he walks through fire alone, she will meet him on the other side. This is the feminine mystery that terrifies. The woman who does not bend to be loved. The woman who does not beg to be kept. Her absence stings more than her touch, because her presence awakens a memory in men of something pure, something ancient, something they longed for before they ever had language to name it. And when they lose it, not because she is cruel, but because they could not hold it, they are left not with heartbreak, but with a haunting. She is unforgettable, not because of what she gives, but because of what she is. Essence, embodiment, the feminine in full bloom, untamed, unfiltered, undomesticated. And when she walks away, she does not do it in anger. She does it in truth. Because truth is her compass now, not chemistry, not potential, not the ache to be chosen. And you, woman, how many times have you doubted yourself for being too intuitive, too deep, too hard to satisfy? How often have you asked, "Is it me?" when a man's shallowness could not hold your sea? Stop apologizing for your depth. Stop softening the edges of your being to fit inside a man's unhealed story. You were not born to be palatable. You were born to be a portal, to awaken, to mirror, to call forth the sacred in those who dare to stay. She has become the very thing he cannot possess, not because she evades, but because she exists beyond the reach of control. She does not move to be found, does not wait to be chased. She walks in rhythm with something eternal, the pulse of the earth, the language of the moon, the silence that births galaxies. Her presence dismantles every narrative he's been told about what a woman should be. And in this dismantling, he either awakens or retreats. For the man who dares to awaken, she is not a reward. She is a reckoning. She demands that he shed the armor, not for her, but for himself. That he sit with his loneliness, his guilt, his shame, and not flinch. That he stop using women as mirrors for his worth, and instead build an identity forged in solitude and shadow work. She calls forth the masculine, not through softness, but through sovereignty. She becomes the invitation he didn't know he was seeking, the one that does not flatter his ego, but feeds his soul. But this kind of woman does not emerge from ease. She was forged in betrayal, in abandonment, in aching silences where she had to become her own comfort, her own witness, her own warrior. She has held herself in the void, in nights that begged for numbness, in mornings where no one came. And she rose, not bitter, but refined, not desperate, but deliberate. She is not hard because she was broken. She is whole because she refused to stay shattered. Now she walks as the mystery itself, not hiding, but choosing. Choosing where to place her energy, her magic, her gaze. Choosing who is allowed to touch the sacred within her. And not all will be worthy. That is the cost of truth. And you, woman, must know this. You are not meant to be constantly accessible. Your energy is a currency, your attention a catalyst. The man who is shaken by your mystery is not your burden. He is his own awakening. You do not have to make yourself less profound so that someone can feel more secure. Let them tremble. Let their illusion collapse. That is not your loss. It is their invitation. And when she finally stands alone, not in isolation, but in deep communion with her own soul, there is a peace that cannot be stolen. She no longer flinches at absence because she has made intimacy with solitude. She no longer aches to be desired because she has chosen herself again and again in the face of silence, in the face of indifference, in the face of every man who said she was too much while secretly begging her to stay. She is no longer the version of herself who begs to be seen. She sees herself, and this is the collapse, the quiet, irreversible collapse of masculine desire built on ego. Because she is not here to complete a man. She is here to call him into his own completion. And if he cannot meet her there, she will walk away. Not to wound him, but to honor the temple of her being. This is where the story ends for many men, not because they were rejected, but because they refused to rise. And yet, for the few who do, the ones who have died to their personas and risen from their own ashes, for them, she does not become less mysterious. She becomes holy. She becomes the altar at which presence kneels, not to worship her, but to worship the part of themselves they lost in the noise of the world. She will never be easily held. She is not made for the grasping hand, the possessive word, the clinging need. She is made to be witnessed, deeply, slowly, by the man who has earned his own depth first. And in that witnessing, desire does not disappear, it is transfigured. It is no longer hunger, it is reverence. And you, woman, you who have been told you must soften to be loved, you must shrink to be safe, you must hide your wisdom to keep his interest. Hear this now. Your mystery is not a problem to be fixed. It is a gift to be protected. You do not owe anyone your accessibility. You owe only yourself your truth. Let him collapse. Let him rage. Let him ache. The woman who knows her worth doesn't chase. She chooses.